Hey, it's Clay. Welcome to another League of Legends video. This time we're doing a Y buy on Lucian, the Purifier. Lucian. I think I'm gonna go with Lucian. I think I like that one a little bit better. Lucian. I don't know why. It sounds more like Lucy than Lucia. I don't know. I think we're gonna leave that one up for debate, but I'm gonna go with Lucian, the Purifier. He is the newest champion in League of Legends, and I have to admit that I got all caught up in the hype. I was very excited for his release. Just highly anticipated. There was a bit of a long wait between like when they started to do the official hints and like the champion spotlight and everything till his final release. There was a bit of a wait there, and I don't feel like it was like a whole month in between his release, when I feel like Riot was more on like a 2 or 3 week schedule. So again, very highly anticipated. And also, if you are ever playing support, do not do what this Janna is doing. She's just taking free Ezreal Qs. So bad stuff there from Janna at level 1. But anyway, she plays a good game overall. But I think she eats one more. Watch this. She just stands here and takes it. And now she's at like 100 HP, and I don't even think she goes back. So anyways, I take one right there too. So not so good. But anyways, Lucian, he is so legit. I really enjoy his style. He's like kind of got this mix of kind of a Neo from why can I not remember what this movie is called? I have a horrible time from The Matrix, duh. I have a horrible time remembering things when I'm doing videos for some reason, but he kind of is a mix of Neo. He's all a little bit from Equilibrium, if you guys have ever seen that movie. I actually watched the movie recently just because I heard that was kind of what he was styled after. And during his recall animation, when he kind of points the guns up and down, that is actually taken directly from that movie. And that movie also has a lot of this really cool like gun kung fu or whatever it's called. So it is a very cool, and he definitely fits that style and theme. But anyways, he is a really cool and interesting character. Got these dual wielding pistols. I would say Lucian is more of a AD caster than a straight AD carry, kind of in line with Ezreal and Corki. Which means that he is more reliant on using his abilities properly to get maximum damage rather than just straight auto attacking. And he's very dynamic. He has high mobility. And he has a very high skill ceiling. He definitely is capable of making some really cool plays. And if you use his abilities correctly, all of them, his passive, his 3 basic abilities, and his ultimate, if you use them all correctly, he's really a powerhouse. And I would say that he's one of the champions who can be built in a lot of different directions. He has a lot of different things in his kit that can be kind of exploited in your build. You could go for more of the on-hit build, you could go for more of the flat AD build, you could go for more of a crit build, even a standard AD, you could go for more of a blue style build. There's just all sorts of different things that you could do on Lucian, which makes him very interesting. But let's get right into his abilities as we watch this laning phase. So his passive, Light Slinger, this basically after every time he fires an ability, his next auto attack will be a double strike. So that means that you auto attack once, but you're getting 2 auto attacks, and I believe it deals between 50 and 75% of your attack damage, and I believe that it scales up with level. So at level 1, it's 50%. So what level am I right now? I think, as we have a bit of a tussle here, I'm at level 3. Oh, not quite able to get that Ezreal. I'm at level 3, and so 50% of my AD would be like, Janna's messed me up, so it'd be like 40. Okay, so it is 50%. Maybe perhaps it's just flat 50%. Maybe it doesn't scale up. I'm not 100% sure, but it deals a portion of your attack damage on the second hit, and it has like max attack speed and is guaranteed to hit. So you're guaranteed after using an ability, if you auto attack, you're guaranteed to get that bonus damage. And this is actually quite strong. If you compare it to other AD carries, this is kind of similar in effect to like Vayne's Tumble or maybe a Draven Q at early levels. Because you're getting that bonus damage on your auto attacks. So very strong. You really want to take advantage of this passive. Personally, I have found that the passive is the strongest part of Lucian's kit, and trying to really take full advantage of it is what makes him strong. So, you can see I actually flashed in and then misclicked, and he was 1 shot away, so definite blunder right there. Should have had the first kill for our team. But anyways, I think his passive is the strongest part of his kit in terms of damage. It's the most consistent. It's very stable and reliable. As opposed to something like Quinn, her passive is the core of her damage, but it's not as reliable. But Lucian's is very reliable, because all you have to do is throw out an ability, then your next auto attack will be boosted. So again, this is what makes him a very strong AD caster. You don't really have to build a lot of attack speed necessarily if you want to take advantage of this passive, because you're getting that max attack speed double hit. So overall, a very strong passive, and it really rewards you for chaining his abilities together, kind of like Riven, where you want to use an ability, auto-attack, use an ability, auto-attack, continue. And so, again, chaining his abilities together in the proper succession is the key to maximizing his damage from his passive. A couple of interesting things about this is that it can apply on-hit effects, so that would be like Blade of the Rune King, or and it also can critically strike, so that is really nice. I'm not 100% sure if the crit damage, I would assume that the crit damage is from that 50% AD mark, but still, that means if you have an Infinity Edge, you're getting like a 250% crit, and then you're getting like a 150% crit, so in rapid succession, that is a lot of damage in quick succession. But let's move on, because I am in love with his passive, but I could talk about it all day. But let's move on to his Q, Piercing Light. This is probably his most interesting ability, and the one, or maybe not most interesting, but just the one that you're probably going to want to use the most and gain mastery over the most. It is very unique. I'm not sure if there's any other ability in League of Legends that works like it. But the idea is that it is a targeted ability, not a skill shot. It's a targeted ability. You can see Janna with her recalls. She's going to get caught out here again. Watch this. But it's a targeted ability, and basically you target somebody. It has relatively short range. The target is only 550, which is your auto attack range. There goes Janna. Silly Janna. But you have to target either a minion or a champion within 550 range, but then it will fire out a laser. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a Xerath Q, where it's a slightly delayed and then boom, instantly goes through. And it does full damage to everything in its path up to 1100 range. So you target something at 550 range, and then it will extend all the way through to 1100 range, which is very, that's like an Ezreal Q or like a Caitlyn Q, so very, very long ranged. And the basic idea here is that this is his strongest trading tool in lane. And the nice thing about it is that it perfectly allows you to harass through minion waves. So all you really need to do is do a little bit of like the geometry to line up your shots so that if you attack the minion, it will go straight through and hit the enemy AD carrier support. You can see, I think I used it right there. It's definitely a core part of my combo. But yeah, it's probably his most consistent damaging ability. It can be dodged. It does have a slight delay, but it's definitely his best ability for clearing minions. There I used it right there on Ezreal. It's his best ability for poke in lane. It's the best way to apply your passive because it has the lowest cooldown. So overall, it's probably his best basic ability and the one you want to max first. There, I used it again. I used it on that minion that was right in front of me, but I used it to extend through to Ezreal to get that nice poke damage off. So when you're laning, a really good idea is to use your Q on a minion, either to maybe last hit it or just kind of, make sure that you're not going to get it too low where you can't get the last hit. So either last hit it, the minion, or do it when it's fairly full on health so that it's in line with the enemy AD carry, and then run forward and auto-attack the enemy AD carry to get your pass off. That's probably the best way to get consistent damage and harassment off. So overall, a very strong ability. Just the poke that it provides is very nice. It's very consistent, very stable. And I know a lot of people, I think, are a little bit annoyed that it isn't a straight skill shot, and it definitely has its limitations. Needing to target someone within 550 range is quite limiting. So it has that, especially in team fights. I would say it gets to be a little bit more less useful. It's more useful in laning than it is in team fights, I would say, just because you need to get within 550 range to cast it. So in some ways it would just simply be better if it was just a straight skill shot, but if you think about it, if it were a skill shot, it would, that had the 1100 range and all that jazz, it probably would be fairly OP. So it makes it a little more balanced that way, because it kind of be like an Ezreal Q that goes through minions. That would be pretty nuts. So, but anyways, that's his Piercing Light. It has very high AD scaling ratios and high base damage, so it is quite strong. One other quick minor note is that it only does 75% to minions, so it's not like insta-clear minion waves like maybe you would expect it to be. And watch this Mordecai, he just goes crazy here. Picks up that kill. I am going to ult him just to kind of scare him away, and then Maokai dives in on me, and you can see Janna's doing a ton of work, and with the Ignite finishes me off, but I do pick up the kill on Maokai. So kind of an annoying exchange right there. Mordekaiser is so obnoxious. But let's move on to his W. This will be his Ardent Blaze. This is a lined skill shot. Has 1,000 range, so very, very long range skill shot. If you're annoyed that his Q isn't a skill shot, you can be happy because his W is a skill shot. When it reaches its destination or hits the first unit, it will explode in like a plus pattern. I think they maybe call it a cross, but it looks kind of like a plus sign to me. And then it will apply a kind of a mark, I guess is maybe what you could call it, to the enemy, or all enemies that are caught in the explosion. And then if Lucian auto-attacks them, he gains a movement speed buff. So this is the ability that I tend to max second. I have toyed around with maxing this last in favor of my E second, but I have found that the damage is pretty good. It helps with kind of AoE wave clear. And the debuff is quite nice. It's not a damage mark, you know, like an Akali or some of these other assassins. It's not a straight damage mark, but it is, the movement speed is quite nice. He's using my ultimate to try to get Ezreal here, try to save this Janna as well, but I'm going to see if I use it to try to get some damage off. Where is it? Use it, Lucian. Use it. Use your W. Come on. You can do it. I really thought I was going to. There's the E, and there's my Q, but where's the W? Come on. I know you're going to use it. I want to see it. Well, anyways, while we wait for myself to use this ability, it's a pretty strong ability. It doesn't have quite as high of an AD scaling ratio as your Q, so it's not quite as much about the raw damage. But the utility that it provides is very, very nice. Lucian's playstyle is very much reliant on kiting, and this is perfect for that. So if you can apply this to a target and auto-attack them, kite away, auto-attack them, kite away, it's kind of like you have Ghost applied. You're gaining plus 40 movement speed, which is very, very nice. And also if you combine it with a Trinity Force, it really, really makes you very, very slippery. So overall, I do really like this ability. The movement speed is very nice. I've always thought that mobility is extremely strong. And any champion that has high mobility is going to be in a really good place. And so I think that giving Lucian this nice mobility boost is quite nice. And overall, it's just a pretty straightforward ability. And yeah, if you're going to max it last, you know, which you definitely can do, then you're mostly just using it for the proc to get the attack speed or the movement speed. But you could actually max it first or second. Just for, I would say probably it's best to max it second just because your Q has so much usefulness in laning. But then the Ardent Blaze probably is a little bit more effective for team fighting. It's probably your most effective ability to use during team fighting is probably what I would say, is you just throw it at a clump of enemies and then you auto-attack them and kite backwards. So overall, I would say it's a strong ability. And then next up would be his E. This is his Relentless Pursuit. This is a short-ranged dash. It kind of reminds me of a Graves Quick Draw, kind of mixed with a... there's the W, finally. Graves Quick Draw is kind of what it looks like, but it's also mixed with the effect of an Evelyn W, where it will remove slows. So it's very, very useful. For the repositioning is very, very nice. You can use it to escape, you can use it to advance or attack, you can use it to try to catch someone. You can use it to get over walls, which is very nice. And the fact that it removes slows is very, very useful, especially if you're playing against champions that very much rely on slows, maybe like a Singed or a Nasus, someone like that. So overall, I think that it is definitely very strong. I probably could have gotten that kill if I would have flashed for it, but I wasn't sure if Zach had his passive up, and it would have been a situation like that where you flash forward and suddenly there's 3 teammates and you just die. But anyways, there I used it right there. An interesting thing about this is that when you max it, it actually has 0 mana cost at max rank and a 10-second cooldown. So very, very... I would say it's definitely viable to max this second, just for the mobility and the... it's probably at that point one of the best ways to apply your passive because it becomes manaless, which is very, very useful. And the cooldown is quite low at 10 seconds. So overall, I would say this definitely has its definite uses. Another interesting part about it is if you get a killer assist during your ultimate, it will reset the cooldown. So you definitely want to use it during your ultimate at the beginning to make sure you're getting the proper positioning on that. And then after that, once you get your kill or assist, then you can definitely use it again to help yourself reposition. So again, very useful, straightforward repositioning ability. Last up would be his ultimate. This is probably the most peculiar and kind of thought-engaging, provoking part of his kit that really makes him intriguing and interesting. Basically, Lucian will lock himself in aiming in a specific direction and fire a rapid barrage of missiles for 3 seconds. During that time, he can move, but the axis upon which he's firing is fixed and cannot change. So if you're firing straight down lane, you can move right, left, forward, back, but you will still continue to fire straight down lane. And then, yeah, just do it. It's capable of dealing an absolute truckload of damage, a metric truck ton, actually, to be exact. If you look at the thing right now, I think I have 2 points in my ulti. The total damage is 1,280 if all 17 shots land, which is ridiculous, to say the least. So I think I just used it right there on that Maokai. So overall, it's a very, very interesting ultimate. It scales with attack damage, it scales with ability power, and it also scales with attack speed. So the more attack speed you have, the more shots you fire, while the more attack damage and ability power you get, the more each shot hits for. So I think at rank 1 it has 26 shots, and then max rank 34. And then if you get more attack speed, I mean, it can go up quite high. So I think a lot of people have been trying very high attack speed builds, like a Blade of the Rune King and a Phantom Dancer or something like that. Maybe into a Trinity Force. So you're getting a ton of attack speed, so you can really max out the number of shots on your ulti. So it's just very, very interesting. And again, like I mentioned, if you get a killer assist, it will reset the cooldown of your E, which you can use during your ultimate for the repositioning, which is very nice. Oh, and it also will do quadruple damage to minions, but not monsters. That's kind of an interesting fact. So it will get blocked by minions, but it will pretty much just shred them in one shot, just because it's doing quadruple damage, which is pretty insane. So yeah, overall, I would say that his ultimate is very, very hit or miss, is kind of the comment I will make about it. If you're able to actually land every shot, you will absolutely destroy someone. I mean, to the point where you can, like, one-shot them. You know, if you land your full basic combo, you know, like Q auto, W auto, E auto, and then get all of your ultimate, you'll pretty much one-shot just about anybody. You know, right now, I'm doing, 1358 damage just with my ult over 18 shots. That's pretty insane. Pretty absolutely insane. But it's also very unreliable and very difficult to actually hit. If somebody has like an Ezreal, if he's just going to E out of it, or Vayne, she's just going to Q away, and then you're pretty much stuck because you are very fixed in the direction that you're firing, which greatly limits your potential ability to kind of get yourself in a better position to hit somebody. So the thing that I would say about this is you need to be very selective about when and where you use this. I found that the best time that I tend to use it would be either at the beginning or at the end of team fights. Either or, just kind of depending. If somebody kind of gets caught out early, then I'll use it at the beginning. It's also very, very effective in the jungle. But the basic idea is that you really want to save it until you get into a position where your opponent has very limited options in terms of where they can go. So like I said, if you're in a tight corridor in the jungle and all they can do is run away down that corridor, then you want to use it. Let's see if I use it right here. Yep, I do end up using it right here, and I end up totally whiffing. So again, that was kind of a poor use of my ultimate. But if we kind of pause it right here, if I'm standing over in this area firing this direction, so I'm not sure if you guys can actually see my mouse, but if I'm standing over in this bush at the center of my screen and aiming towards this bush, this whole trajectory is very, very open to me hitting everybody as much as I can with my ultimate. So I do end up getting taken out there by Mordekaiser, which is very unfortunate because then he clones me and then my team all dies. But yeah, it's very hit or miss. I would say that the high attack speed builds are not my favorite, and it's actually probably the way that I very much dislike playing Lucian that way. Geared towards high attack speed. That's just not my favorite way to do it, because I find that the ultimate is very unreliable. I would say that relying more on your passive for your damage output is probably a better way to do it, just because it is so much more reliable. But you definitely can rely on your ultimate for a lot of damage. And max rank has a very low cooldown of 50 seconds, so it's very spammable at that point, especially if you get some CDR. So like a CDR attack speed based build would be quite intriguing, just because of its ability to get tons of ultimates off and tons of damage during each ultimate. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I feel like if you, like I said, it's very hit or miss. If you are able to get all the damage off, it's tremendous. But if in most situations, you're going to have a hard time consistently getting every shot to land. So my tendency, like I said, is to save it till either the beginning or the end of a team fight, and just kind of, I've had more success just firing it into a big cluster of enemies is kind of good, because then there are more enemies, you know, there's more surface area to hit, so it's more likely that your ultimate will actually connect. I also like to use it a lot during chases. If we are chasing someone down, like let's say they're running back towards their turret in lane and they're low on health, they have very limited options there in terms of where they can all go. You can see right here we catch out this Zin, so I'm just going to use my ult on him, and I get probably half of the shots landed, and it really chunked him down. So I think that was a pretty solid time, but really the idea here is that you just want to try to get as many of your shots off as you possibly can. I remember this. I was super sour about this because I think Mordekaiser ulted me, and I really don't actually know how his kit works, but that damage over time was insane, and he ended up getting the kill on me, which made me very sad. And he doesn't have a Landry's yet, so it wasn't like that was burning. Maybe I just don't know exactly how. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand how Mordekaiser's kit works, but I was pretty sad about that death. But anyways, yeah, I would say his ultimate, like I said, to kind of summarize, it's very hit or miss. It's very much, if it hits, it's great. If it misses, it stinks. It's pretty much the summary right there. But overall, I do like it. It's very fun to use if you're able to get everything working. But it just, you know, if you compare it to maybe somebody like Graves, his ultimate is just like this ultimate AoE barrage of damage. I mean, it's very easy to land, it's very straightforward, whereas Lucian's is a little bit more tricky, I would say. So, it is what it is, but I still enjoy it and find it fun, and it does synergize with his kit pretty well. So yeah, overall, those are his abilities. Again, very versatile, very dynamic in terms of how he can be built. Let's talk a little bit about that. My preference is to focus more heavily. Oh, you can see right here the equilibrium reference right there with the way he positions his gun. I think it looks really cool. But I tend to prefer more of a flat AD build. I like to go for an early Vamp Scepter just because that's definitely my preference. With 4% lifesteal Quins plus a Vamp Scepter, gives you almost infinite sustain in lane if you aren't getting all in. So you can really survive through any sort of poke. Even if you get like a Dorn's Blade too on top of that, you have a ton of sustain through lane, which I really tend to prefer. So again, choke point right here, so that means time for use my ulti, which I'm going to do. The first couple shots did not connect, but after that, a lot of them did. Right into Zac at the front line. You can see this team fight's actually going pretty well for us. I'm just kind of DPSing in the back as best as I can. You see, we do pick up a kill on Zac. Our Fiora falls, though. There I'm just throwing out my Q auto, W auto, going to E backwards auto, going to make sure we get rid of this clone before we do anything else, because those Mordekaiser clones are so frightening, and it looks like we pretty much won this team fight. Yep, we were able to get 2 kills, and Mordekaiser is quite low, whereas we only lost Fiora. But as I was saying, in terms of build, I really tend to prefer a big AD item first, either Bloodthirster or Infinity Edge. For a long time, I would go more towards Bloodthirster first, just because it does give you a really nice chunk of attack damage to really maximize your Q damage, and then your passive on top of that, because both of them scale quite nicely with flat AD. But lately I've been going more for Infinity Edge. You get potential of 30 less attack damage if it's not stacked up, but you get the crit chance, and I think that crit is extremely effective on Lucian because, like I said before, your passive, the Light Slinger, is capable of critting. And to just on top of that, crit is an extremely useful statistic on an AD carry just in general. Anybody who relies on auto-attacking, critical chance is just so effective. It's just extremely, it makes all of your other, items extremely cost-effective because, if you have more flat AD, your crit is going to hit harder because it gets amplified by 250% with Infinity Edge. And if you have attack speed, that means you have more opportunities to crit. So if you have a 30 or 40% crit chance percentage, that means that you can definitely so we can get a nice kill there on Mordekaiser. Use my E a little too early though, should have waited. But yeah, if you have more attack speed, you get more opportunities to crit. So it all just kind of synergizes very nicely with itself. So I really enjoyed Infinity Edge first as your first major item. just because he doesn't necessarily need the attack speed to really get the most out of it, because you get a lot of attack speed through your passive. So yeah, I really enjoyed Infinity Edge first, and then I really enjoyed Trinity Force as a second item. The new Trinity Force is fantastic on Lucian. And a couple things about this, and this is just a bit of a side comment as well, but I found that Trinity Force plus using runes and masteries really solves one of his biggest problems, which is mana issues. Lucian is very mana intensive. I remember watching like Wild Turtle play one of his first games with Lucian, and it seemed like he was constantly and I found that definitely to be true in my experience as well, that Lucian has mana problems for sure. So I tend to go 2109 in my masteries, and then I also tend to go with my blue runes, which means that I swap out a couple of magic resist glyphs for mana regen glyphs, like 4 or 5 of them, and I find that that really tends to help my mana problems. Getting, the 9 points in utility, specifically taking 3 points in the mana regen and maybe 2 points in the the mana per level. Combine that with the mana regen from my glyphs, and then combine that with a Trinity Force tends to be enough mana, because I'm getting 200 mana there from Triforce, and I'm getting a good amount of mana and mana regen from my runes and masteries. That really tends to be enough. I've tried getting a Tear of the Goddess on Lucian, and I just don't think that it is very cost effective on him. If you're going to get it, it would definitely benefit to just not just rush the tier, but just get the straight up mana moon as early as you can, because then you will stack it based on your auto attacks, not just your spells. Lucian's Q is here's a nice team fight, use of my ultimate, but Lucian's Q has a 5-second cooldown, which isn't quite low enough to be spammable to really stack it up quickly, in my opinion. So you want to definitely transform it up into the mana moon, get it out of the tier as early as you can. But if you are going to do Mana Mune, I guess it would work nicely with his passive, because it will apply the on-hit effect from Mana Mune. So that's a bonus if you want to do that. But I just find that it's I don't know, since the tier nerfs, I don't necessarily think it's the best choice, just in my opinion. But I do prefer Trinity Force. I think Trinity Force is fantastic on Lucian. Every statistic that it offers he can utilize quite effectively. Attack damage, he's an 80 carry, works great. Ability power is actually quite nice. His W has a 90% AP ratio, and his ultimate has a 10% AP ratio per shot, so he definitely can take advantage of the ability power. And the attack speed is nice. Attack speed is always nice in 80 carry. Crit chance is very nice, especially if you're getting a Trinity Force. That gets you, I think, to 35% crit. Yes, that's correct. 35% crit, which is nice, especially when you're going to get into that, like, 35 to 60% is kind of the sweet spot, I think, for crit, in my opinion. Because if you have too much, then it's just kind of goes to waste. But if you have too little, then you're not going to crit often enough to make the Infinity Edge worth it. So kind of being in that sweet spot, near 50% is ideal. The movement speed is very nice. Lucian is such a strong kiter. You can see I'm just dumpstering this Ezreal right now with my movement speed. So the flat 8% movement speed is fantastic. And then when you combine that with the Rage passive, it makes you extremely mobile. So you can see I have like the Ghost going underneath me, and I can just chase down these guys so effectively. Even this Mordekaiser, I'm just going to kite away from him, pick up the kill. So mobility is nice. The flat health is very useful. And the mana especially is kind of the main reason why I'm attracted to this item. So, and then on top of that, the Spellblade, giving you 200% of your base AD after every spell, which is so good on an AD caster like Lucian. You know, if you use your Q, you're getting advantage of the passive and the Spellblade at the same fell swoop. So, very strong overall. Trinity Force is, in my opinion. Since it got buffed, I think it's perfect for Lucian. So, a big AD item, either Bloodthirster or Infinity Edge, into Trinity Force is ideal. After that, I really like to go Last Whisper. Those 3 items, Triforce, Infinity Edge, Last Whisper, turns you into a total monster. And then after that, it's a little bit situational. You could go for Blade of the Rune King. I know that a lot of people would like to rush that item on him, so that could definitely work. You could also go for, I think, a Bloodthirster is what I go for in this build. So again, to just maximize your AD caster, you're really taking advantage of your Q and your passive for a ton of damage. As I get another pick off here on Maokai. So yeah, you can go for, I think a lot of people will go for Blade of the Rune King first. Blade of the Rune King has a lot of nice synergy with him. His passive can apply the on-hit effect twice. The attack speed is great for his ultimate. The AD is great for everything. It's just a very good all-around item that Lucian can definitely take advantage of. Definitely not weakened by any means. It just is my preference to go for more of a flat AD build. But yeah, I talked a lot about build options. Lucian is crazy versatile. I think you could also go for an AP build, and then like get a ton of CDR, and then your ult is on like a 30-second cooldown, and it's gonna do like 2 metric truck tons of damage approximately. Like seriously, in the realm of like, man, I don't even want to know. Like at max rank, you're doing the base damage is 2040 with a 340% AP ratio. So if we have like, oh my gosh, I need to run this math. So if we have 500 AP times 340%, that's 1700 damage. Is this real? Like, is this real? 1700 plus 2000. I mean, so you're doing like 3,700 damage at that point. That just seems absurdly high. So I think that's kind of the attraction to the AP Lucian build, because that number seems 3,700 damage. Wow, that's crazy. But anyways, so then yeah, just to kind of sum things up, I think overall Lucian is he's definitely strong. I think his greatest strength is his laning. I think he's going to prove to be a very strong laner, even a lane bully, kind of in the realm of Caitlyn, just because of the range and poke on his Q is really nice. And then when you combine that with his passive damage, I think that just is going to put him in a very, very strong place for laning. I think he's going to be proven to be a very, very strong laner. You know, because like I said, if you can get Q auto, W auto, E auto, that's just going to be a ton of their health that's gone right there. I'm not sure if he's going to scale very well into late game, just because I think that his ultimate is a little bit too finicky to be reliable in terms of a late game source of damage. And I also think that his passive becomes less useful at that point, because your abilities are going to be less easy to land and less reliable, just because the team... And I feel like late game, the AD carries who shine late game are those who rely on auto attacks and those who have steroids. So like, especially like a Tristana or a Vayne, they both have a lot of really good auto attack steroids. So late game, when you get these items, they become even more cost efficient. You see, getting a nice double kill here. They become even more cost efficient because, you know, when you have a ton of crit and attack damage and attack speed, and then you have a 90% attack speed steroid on top of that, you're just going to blow up people. So Lucian doesn't really have anything like that. His only steroid really comes from his passive. So because that's a little bit more unreliable in terms of it requires you to actually use an ability rather than just auto attack, I think he's going to be one of the AD carries that is not viewed as a hyper carry that scales in the late game extremely hard. But I do think that he will find a place because of his high mobility as well. High mobility is very useful. If there's anything we've learned from like the Blue Ezreal build, is that mobility is really, really strong. So yeah, I think he'll find his role as a lane bully and a very high mobility AD carry who's a lot of fun to play. But anyways, able to get the victory here. Final score for me was 11, 3, and 13, 300 CS. But I really, really enjoyed this core build: Infinity Edge, Trinity Force, Last Whisperer, Bloodthirster. I did pick up Berserker's Greaves and was heading towards a Guardian Angel. You could actually do Lucidian boots of the cooldown reduction boots. CDR is definitely strong on him. You could also get something like a Brutalizer and CDR boots, and that would really, really help with your CDR to even more maximize your role as an AD caster. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Lucian is pretty cool. He's a lot of fun. You know, once you start to kind of figure out how to chain his abilities together, you do feel quite powerful. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I definitely had a lot of fun in this gameplay, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.